Gentlemen, I'm honoured to be joined with you once again. Today we're going to be talking about passports within the European Union they should outright avoid like the plague. Because a lot of people on the international sector have this view that all EU passports are equally as good. And while yes, most if not all of them are very desirable among many people around the world, we must not make that mistake of thinking they are all just as good as each other. Because there's a reason why we say the Irish passport is one of the best passports in the world, if not the actual best passport in the world. But no one in their right mind would ever say that about the Estonian passport, for example. So we have to be very clear here that not every EU passport is as good as the other one. And this is why in today's video I'll be going through all the passports that are not very good options to get in the European Union, ones that you should just outright avoid like the plague. So the first one might actually be a bit of a surprising one. That would be the country of Spain. Now I know Spain is very attractive among many people. In fact, the Spanish passport, when we look at the visa requirements, isn't even that bad. None of these passports are necessarily bad because of the lack of visa-free travel around the world. It's about some other things, some other bureaucratic levels here, other things that you might have to do if you get the citizenship here. For Spain, the major one is that if you have no major ties to Spain before, and if you just immigrate there as a third country immigrant, which is to say that you don't come from a European Union country or a country that used to be a colonial territory of the Spanish Empire, you have no major ties to Spain, you don't speak Spanish, your partner isn't Spanish, your wife isn't Spanish, anything like that, then Spain doesn't allow dual citizenship. They do allow dual citizenship if they have a treaty with your country, but usually those countries are only EU countries, not even all of them, to be honest. They're South American former colonial states, and also some major Western countries. So if you come from any Middle Eastern country, for example, they're probably not going to allow dual citizenship, which isn't great because the whole notion of passport diversification here is to get as many passports as possible to maximize our personal freedoms here. So Spain isn't a very good option. It isn't the worst option in the world. You don't have to worry about many major things beyond that. There are definitely ways to get Spanish dual citizenship. It just isn't one that is dual citizenship for all people who would get the passport. In that certain respect, they do require some people to renounce their former citizenships. Now, the next country on this list would be that of Austria. Now, with Austria, I am a bit more lenient here, in honesty, because I actually like the country in general. I like going to Austria. And while I do have problems with their dual citizenship policy, it isn't the major policy that I'm necessarily concerned with. Austria has mandatory military service. Now, it isn't the worst one in Europe. In honesty, there is alternative civilian service that you can do. But in general, when we look at freedom maximalism and possible diversification, being forced to do something for a year in order to maintain citizenship, in order to not get sanctioned by your country, isn't really a good deal in my eyes. So mandatory military service and any type of mandatory service for a country I view as a colossal human rights violation. The dual citizenship, though, when we analyse it, we have to analyse that a bit more because it isn't as black and white with Austria. Austria does allow dual citizenship in three major cases that I have noticed here. The first one is probably the nichest one if you do the investment program in Austria. Austria does have a very well hidden citizenship by investment program. If you do that, about 10 million euros, they will allow you to maintain dual nationality, but your children after that, potentially not, and your children after that will have to do the military service as well. Another case, this might be a bit more accessible, is that if you are Jewish, who is of the Austrian diaspora, and you can verify that your family was personally persecuted by the 1938 to 1945 regime in that country, then you can also qualify for Austrian citizenship by descent, technically, and also be able to maintain your other citizenship as well. That is another option there. They also tend to allow it for refugees as well because they understand that you're not going to go back to your war-torn third world country in order to just renounce your citizenship, and their country might not have an embassy in Austria as well, so they allow it for those cases. My view is the third one makes absolute sense here. The first two I could sort of back in a way, but my personal position is they should allow dual citizenship for absolutely everyone. Doesn't matter if you're a refugee, doesn't matter if you're of the Jewish diaspora, it doesn't matter if you invested 10 million minimum into the country. They should allow it for everyone. If you've lived in Austria for 10 years, you've learned the German language, you've verified your integration into the Austrian culture, why should you be forced to give up your other citizenship, where your neighbour, who might have gone through the same program as you, but instead just invested 10 million, be allowed to keep their passport, their other passports? That to me isn't necessarily fair. So the Austria one, again, is a very good option. I'm a bit more lenient with Austria though, because I do like Austria. It's a very cool country. I like going to Austria in general. It's a bit expensive for what it is, but still I enjoy being in Austria. So I'm a bit more lenient there. Also, their dual citizenship policy isn't as black and white in Austria. I think it should be a lot more black and white. They should just allow it in general. Also, the mandatory military service is a bit of a problem. It isn't the worst passport in the European Union, but it certainly isn't the best one either that we should maybe strive towards getting. I personally never really strive towards an Austrian passport in honesty. So it's sort of one that you sort of have to meet in the middle ground, not being the worst, but also not being the best. And the final country that I'm going to talk about here would be that of Estonia. As an honourable mention, I want to include the whole Baltics here, but Estonia is the best case study to analyse here. Because Estonia doesn't allow dual citizenship unless you are a natural born Estonian citizen. And if you're looking to diversify into the European Union, chances are you're not an Estonian natural born citizen. They do allow dual citizenship for them, but not for you as a foreigner who would want to naturalise in Estonia. Citizenship there is very hard. It takes pretty much over a decade to become an Estonian citizen. The language is very similar to Finnish, so it's quite difficult. You can learn it though, of course. You should absolutely learn the language if you're going to decide to live there. But for me, the major issue is they don't allow dual nationality, and they also have mandatory military service. Now, if you're a foreigner, if you move there and you spend 10 years there, you might be over the age limit of being called up to join the Estonian military. But still, let's analyse this. What type of nonsensical deal is this? Oh, thank you for dedicating a decade of your life here. Thank you for learning one of the most difficult languages in Europe. Thank you for all that. Thank you for paying your tax money to us. But you've proven a lot here, but we want you to renounce your other citizenship to really prove that you are loyal to Estonia. And you do that. Okay, fine. I don't agree with that, but you do that, for example. Then the Estonian government might come back to you and go, okay, thank you for all of that, but we actually don't think you're loyal enough, so you have to do 1 year in our military. What type of nonsense is that? That is absolute garbage. That is asinine. The country is cool, but their citizenship policy is anything but cool in my eyes. So Estonia, to me, great country, green flag language, red flag passport. Let me know what you think about the passports that I've mentioned in this video. Do you agree with my points, or do you personally have different positions on any of the countries that I've mentioned here? Let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Hopefully see you in the next one, but until then, eternal victory to the free people.